Welcome back to Mill, everybody. It is Sunday after New Year's Day. I think it's the 5th. And I got one line. I'm going to try to do it, sorry about the wind, with that Silvertip Turbo 7 that we have on the mill. All I did was tension it up, cut the log off at 11.6, threw it up there. What we need is we need 6 5/4 boards at 10 1/4 wide. So we're going to try to get a 10 1/4 cant out of this. Now, based on the size of the log, we should be able to do it, but it's got a couple of challenges in it as usual. And I'm going to show you what we got going on. It's a little Sunday special. So I've mapped out a fat 10-inch square on the end of this log based on the center. Just for a guide, even though this is down the big end. But this log has a little dip in it right there, and it's got a little dip in it right there. Now these are just floorboards for the loft of Ben Silvas timber frame, so we should, in theory, be able to pull this off. Let's take a look at the small end here. And let's go ahead and do some measuring down here. Actually, we can do this with the mill. So if I go to the top of the small end right here, that's 14 up. Now I realize the bottom might not be all the way down, but at 12 inches, you can get a 9.6 inch cant. So once you get to 13, you're in the ballpark of 14. Once you get to 13 inches, you're in the ballpark of a 10-inch cant. I'm just going to grab my tape measure. Let's see what the width is on this. So I'm still 13 on the width, which is good. I am 13 on the height inside the bark, which should still yield me a 10-inch cant. And if I have a little bit of wane on the outside, I don't think it's going to be a big deal because I only need 6 boards at 5/4 thick. So I think we can still pull this off, even with all the bumps and bruises on this log and everything. I think we still have enough log here to do it. Now let's set our, I've already warmed up the mill. Let's set our 5/4 scale and show you how I'm going to do that. Since we're going to be cutting 5/4 boards, makes sense to set the 5/4 scale right now. Now the simplest way to do it, rather than doing mathematics, which is would be 5/4 would be 1 1/4, then 2 1/2 plus 1/8. So 5/4 scale should be at 2 5/8. But the simplest way to do it is to drop down to my 1 1/4 mark and then take my 5/4 scale, which on this is the blue, and set that mark with my 1 1/2, which I'm already at. So I was cutting 5/4 boards last time out of this. So my blue 5/4 scale, the top of my scale mark is at the my 1 1/4 mark right now. So my 5/4 scale is all set. Our goal in the beginning here is going to be to stay away from 10 1/4 every direction. If I have to roll this a couple of times, that's fine. It's not going to be a big deal. It's a pitch pine log. I picked this one because it was very, very close to the size to yield a 10-inch cant, which you can see. And it's got a huge heartwood center, which is going to leave some nice red boards for him. Red center boards for his loft in the timber frame. So what we're going to do, and I'll keep you up to date as we go along here, is we're going to start taking this apart, and we are going to try to stay away from the 10-inch mark as we take the sides off it. Now, I'm going to come back here for a second because this could be important. What you could do And actually, you see this, I'm trying to think of the channel, Wilson Forest Land, when he's cutting Douglas fir, you could come down to the middle of this log. Let's give you a little, actually, let me get up above it. I'll show you what I'm talking about to help you map this out in your head if you're not good at just walking through this. You can go ahead and separate this out. So we could come down, let's just say, I don't have my level with me, but we could say that this is 13 and a half, which is 6.5 and a quarter. So 6 3/4 technically. 6.5 is 13 and a quarter is a half. So 6 3/4 is right here. You could draw a line here, right? Then you could come up 5. Let's just use 5 and know that your top cut, technically, you don't want any lower than that right there. And then you could do your width the same way. You could do this with your saw head. If you marked your center, you could just come up 5, make a mark, and then let's say you want to take an inch board out of it, somewhere around there. Take your top cut there, take a 1-inch flitch, and you're good. And then this way we've got basically 13 and a half, so 6 3/4, which is right there. And we're going to be, let's see, we're going to roll it over to the bottom, so we're going to get a 5 mark this way, so somewhere right in there, but we'll actually know what that is because we'll have this flat already. And then you could take and mark out a 5 this way from the center, and a 5 this way from the center. Now keep in mind, I need 10 1/4 in one dimension, and the other dimension doesn't matter. It's just going to be cut on scale. But you could go ahead out of that center and do this to give you your drop dead marks where you don't want to go past. Now, that's only in one of these 2 dimensions. So I need 10 1/4 one way. The other way really doesn't matter. It's just going to be cut on scale down through the log. They have to be 10 1/4 wide, or that's what he wants, because it works out into his 61 and a half width. That 10 1/4 boards will, 6 10 1/4 boards will do that perfectly. So we're going to try to give him 10 1/4 boards. This is all marked off the center of the log, so should give us the most meat on each side. So that's what I'm going to use as a guide. I want to stay away from that mark until I have to cut that mark. And that's just a little quick way of mapping it out in your head of where to take your cuts, so that you don't, let's just say you don't come down on your top and come down and take an extra flitch and screw yourself on your width on your bottom. That's just a basic 10-inch square right there, and it'll give me a guideline when I come back of where I can cut at. Because of the dips and dings in this log, like right there and that one down there, I don't think there's going to be a whole ton of usable flitches off this, and I'm not concerned with flitches right now. I know if I get a 10-inch camp, I can get at least 6 5/4 boards out of it. And the rest of it is just bonus wood for the yard, for the log yard. So that's a little quick way to do that. You could do that with the saw head if you just mark the center, come up 5, make a mark, go up 1, make a mark, take your top cut. So that's what we're going to go off of. Hopefully it works out. And let's get to cutting here. It's my only job today. It's a Sunday. I want to watch some football, and hopefully this Silvertip Turbo 7 band cuts flat. If it doesn't, I'm going to have to change it out. So I can tell based on my top cut that I don't have the center I don't have enough wood right here for that top cut to cut a flitch off. So I'm just going to come down to that mark and I'm going to make my top cut. And then we'll roll it over and we're going to try to roll our way into it. And I can cheat myself a little bit. I'm at 12.5 right now. Looks kind of okay. I think I'll just take my top cut right there. And I think it works out. It worked. I'm going to show you this. Let me get the flitch off and I'm going to show you this. That actually worked out really, really well. So I think now, based on that cut, I'm not going to have a problem pulling this off. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I stayed a 1/2 inch high on this end and I cut out right on my line on this end. So that means that my centers are really, really close to being centered through the log. And I'm just going to flip this over now. I do want to, I'm just going to run my little level down this and see how flat it cut. There are some waves in it. They're very small. They're there though. So I'm going to take this apart outside the 10-inch line with that blade, and I think I'm going to swap it out. There are some waves in this, and they're periodic waves. In other words, it didn't hit a knot. The band is going like this, so it's starting to get a little bit dull. It's actually getting a pattern to it as it's going down the log. The waves they're very, very small, but it's in a pattern. And I did not push that very hard. I could have pushed that a lot faster. Now, if we could just go ahead and square this up on the side here. It's not loving it. I'm just going to go ahead and flip it all the way over. Don't roll back on me. So I'm going to try to stay slightly outside my lines. One dog will do it on this cut. Take the top off this side. There's a bunch of dirt right here I want to get off. It's going to be on the outflow side, but still, I want to cut right through it. That's really the only dirt on this log, is that one little chunk that was right there. So we'll get this side, see if we can get it into a square, and then I'll probably have to pause you guys and swap the bands over to the Stella Cut band. I can right now check where that line is just for my head. We don't want to go below 10 1/4. We want a little more than 10 1/4. Right now I have 10 inches to that line. So I want my top cut to be around 11, and we'll see what 11 looks like down that end. And if 11 works out with this little dip right here, if 11 works out, we're gold. It looks perfect. It's exactly a 1/2 inch outside my 10-inch line over here, so it works perfect. If we have width here when we cut this, we're gold. I think we're already gold. And we don't have width. This is not a, oh, I hit a nail. Gosh darn it. Damn it. Yeah, have it. I did not expect that. Oh, Lord. All right, let me get this flitch off. I don't have width right now. Damn it. Ah, just what I didn't want. How did I never expect to see a nail on a log like this? God damn it. I am going to have to come down and take a flitch off this side. But now I got to get that nail out. It's actually good because it takes me into um, my blade change. Let's just see how flat it was cutting. And it's cutting perfectly flat here. It actually cut this side almost perfectly flat. Some little waves in it, but nothing serious. It did a really good job cutting this side, but I got to get this nail out. I'll show you the nail. Now I still have a solid inch here. So, and I have a 1/2 inch down there and a 1/2 inch on the other side. So I'm probably going to drop down and take a solid 1-inch flitch off this side. And I think I'm good, but we got to get that nail out. So I'm going to pause you guys. I'm going to bring you over. I'll show you how to take a nail out. But I got to get all my tools out. So rather than have you watch me fumble around, I'm going to pause you, bring you over there, set you up, and I'll grab my tools and we'll take that nail out. Okay, let's go through nail 101. I've done this, guys, over the last, I don't know how many years. I've done this a lot of different ways. But I can tell you the simplest way that I've ever found is a screwdriver, a pair of vice grips, and a hammer. And what we want to do, sometimes you need a hatchet just to clip off these little chunks that I'm flipping up right here. Is on each side of them, especially in pine like this because it's so sticky. We'll try to do it just with this first. Typically what I want to do is just take these chunks out next to the nail and just grab it with the vice grips and rip it out. But in pine, sometimes when it's really sticky like this, if this was hardwood, these would just be busting out, but they're not right now. So what I'm going to do, now you can do this one of a couple different ways. You could do it with a pocket knife. If you had your pocket knife on you, you could just do this with a pocket knife just to pull these, get these chunks out. I like to do it with a hatchet, and I'll show you that too. But because these stringy fibers are sticking together, we've got to make some cuts here. So let's do it with a hatchet. I'll just grab the hatchet. And we want to cut down on both sides so that when we break these chunks, these little chunks out, they come out. Then I can get in there with my screwdriver Just bust these chunks out. Now I get the nail exposed. We can snap this on. Kind of want to take it out in the direction that it's facing. Ooh. And one thing that I dropped my screwdriver, I just got to grab it. One thing you do not want to do is you do not want to bend back and forth on the nail. So typically, we just get, I don't have a good enough bite on it. Typically, we can just grab it, keep getting it lower and lower and lower. And sometimes it's a screw and not a nail. So if it doesn't come out, it could be a screw. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to break it off below the surface. Give a good look at it. Kind of looks like a nail. Feels like it's coming. A little tighter. You just don't want to bend it because you'll break it. And if you break it below the surface, you're kind of screwed like that. Just broke a chunk off it, but it was coming. Kind of looks like a ring shank nail. I think it's going to come out. Nope, it broke. It is a nail, I believe. So we got to go a little bit deeper. So I get a bite on it again. So what you don't want to do is break it, but this log's kind of green, so it's holding on to it. And believe me, this notch is not going to go below an inch. Typically, this would have already been out of here by now. Just want to cut all the fibers so that they all come out. Get myself enough of the head showing so I can grab onto it again. Any of the fibers that are holding on, we can just bust them off. It's down in there pretty good right now. But I can't make another cut on this side until I get this out. If this was an oak log, this would have come right out. Get a lot of it showing right now. And I have in the past, when I was chainsaw milling a lot, I would actually go down with a drill bit and drill out around it to create some space. Wow, this is really holding in there. And it's not spinning, so it's not a screw. Just want to get some of these fibers out of my way. Feels like it's coming. I keep getting it lower. Wow, this is really in there. Just resist the urge to bend it. Because if you do bend it, you're going to break it. Oh. I got it, I think. It's coming. See if we can get something under. How's it coming out? It was bent in there. Okay, got it. So you guys can see what was in there. Hopefully that's the last one that we hit. Before I swap bands, I am going to take another inch off this side. You see that? Hopefully it focuses in. I'm going to take another inch off the side. Staying away from my marks. I think that was at 11.5, I think. Can't remember. But I'm going to make a nice slow pass. I'm going to get you guys back where you were. Because the other side is pretty big and flat, I could actually go to 10.25 if I have to. I'd like to stay away from it if I can. And this pass is going to be a slow pass because we dulled up this band. Oh, we got to take it off. Rip the teeth off, rip the tops off almost every tooth. So I'm going to pause you guys, throw a new band on. I can't continue to cut it with this band. Well, let's just swap bands out and we'll be back. All right, so I put a Stella Cut band on that is kind of sharp, and we're going to go with that. We're going to see where we were and we need an inch off the top. Throw a little bit of water at it. Hopefully we don't hit another nail. So we were at 11. That stinks. We're going to come down to 10.25. Take that off. And that's as deep as we're going to go. So my initial impression is that I'm not deep enough on this side, but this can be the dimension that we cut our boards out of. So what we're going to do now is we're going to flip it on its side. And we're going to see if we can get the 10.25 in the up and down, because we didn't really get it here. If we can get our 10.25 in the up and down, in the side to side, then we can use this dimension to cut our boards out of, and that's only going to waste one board out of the bunch at 5/4. So hopefully, we can get it. I'm gonna come up 8. I know that I'm not going to go below 10. I want to give myself something to square up against. And we'll flip it up there. We'll get her squared up. We'll start taking it apart the other way. Let's see where we are. That's perfectly square right there. Okay. So we're going to take the top off it, see if we can stay away from our mark. Doesn't look great right now. Doesn't look great. Now this is cut at 11.6 and I only do 11, but it doesn't look great. It's like 14 right there. Let's take it right there. Let's get some more support. Okay, I feel a little better about it. I feel a little better about it now. See how that cut out. Whoa. Let me measure my distance between my marks here. See what I'm working with. That's about 10 1/4 right there. This needs a flitch out of it, is what it needs. Damn it. Okay, I'm going to try and take one flitch out of it and then hope that that bottom... Nope, I'm not. I'm going to flip it over. I know I'm not there yet, but I think I'm going to flip it over and clean up the other side. I think that's what I'm going to do. We'll clean up the other side first and see how far we can stay away from a mark. I mean, there's a possibility this log just won't do it. I could always take some out of the side because I only need 6. 6 is 6 inches and 6/4 is 7.5. So I really need 7.5 plus the 1/8 of 5 cuts. So 7.5 and 5/8. So I really need 8 1/8 in the other dimension to end up perfect. So let's take the top off this side, see how bad a shape we're in. And I need 10 1/4 in this dimension. So there's nothing that I can do about that. Let's go down kind of to there. That's 11 1/4 right there. I don't see any way around it. I think we got to cut it there. And then I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to do that math to 8 1/8. And I think we're going to have to take this width to 8 1/8 and see how much wane that gets rid of before we cut up on that 10 1/4. Get this switch off there. This is actually, in all honesty, this is going to be the perfect log for this. We are going to want to take this down to 8 1/8 in the width this way. So let's do our math again. We need 6 boards at 1 1/4 inches. is 6 inches and 6/4. There's another 1.5 inches, is 7.5. There are going to be 5 cuts at 1/8 each in 6 boards. They're going to be 5 cuts. That's another 5/8. It's 8 1/8. So we're going to flip this on its side, take some of the wane off this side. I know that I need 8 1/8 here. And then we will cut this to 10 1/4 in whichever dimension makes the most sense. I think it's going to be the bottom. Or a couple of skim cuts. So let's see. What are we at this way now? All right, so we're at 10 1/4 this way. That's going to come down to 8 1/8. So we're going to flip it on its side, take an inch off. There's going to be a lot of flips here, guys. There's going to be a lot of flips here for a minute. And I got to make sure that my stops are not, I got to get my stops down below 8. Probably closer to something like 5 at this point. 5 or 4. We'll just go to 4. We won't be going anywhere near that. And what that 8 1/8 means is that we can mill that dimension out on scale. And we have to take the extra off this dimension because we have wane and we're already at 10 1/4. We still got an inch to go in the other dimension. So just to double check myself, I want to put 8 1/8 this way. And I know that this dimension is going to end up in 10 1/4. So that just keeps me from making a mistake and cutting a piece off the wrong side. So let's take a flitch off this side. We know we're at 10 1/4. We can come down to 9 1/8 and get a 1-inch board off. Probably should have split the 8s there instead of taking a full 1-inch off this side. I should have split the 8s there. We're going to flip it all the way over. And we're going to take it to 8 1/8. Get some of the wane off the other side, and then pick our worst cut side to take us to 10 1/4. Wherever there's more wane, we will cut that side to 10 1/4, and then we'll just mill the log into. Oh, I always say that too. I always say, make sure you move that. I don't know if the wind blew it down there or not. I won't know what I think this is my worst side, but I won't really know until I cut the other cut off it. So we're going to take this to 8 1/8. I can tell already the other side's the worst side. 8 1/8 is going to put us on 5/4 scale. Now we're on 5/4 scale in this dimension to mill it out into 5/4 boards, and we still have a bunch of wane on it. So a little bit of wane on the bottom of a board is not going to be a big deal. Now we're going to take it to 10 1/4. There's still going to be a little wane on some of the boards. 2 of them. It's going to be a little wane on 2 of the 6. Damn it. There was no other way I could do it either. Just wide. So let's take it to 10 1/4. Then we'll flip it on its side and mill it out. Come on. Okay, and that's 10 1/4. And this will complete the order because I have at least an 8-inch wide board in that flitch and the one below it. And I have, oh, unless those are only inch thick. They're inch thick, I don't. Got to be 5/4. I don't have it in this one either. This one's thin too. Huh. That was a mistake. So overall, this is pretty clean. I'm at 10 1/4 wide. Exactly, I have exactly 6 boards in this. I got a teeny little bit of wane in the top one and a teeny little bit of wane in that one. And I think that's going to be fine, especially because that's near the end of a board. So let's get her rocked on her side here. A little bit of wane down here. I think it's going to be okay. We're going to drop our stops all the way down and mill it out on 5/4 scale. If he needs another board, he needs another board. This was kind of a perfect use of this log, in all honesty. Show you the boards when I'm done. Well, we should end up with 6, I think. So let's see. 8 1/8, is on 5/4 scale. We drop down to it should be 7 3/4, which is right there. That's 1 1/4 and an 1/8. Six 3/4. Next drops down to should be 5 3/8. Yep, there. Next drop down should be the 4 inches exactly. Next one should be a 3 5/8. That was a 4, should be a 2 5/8. Perfect. And cut great. Okay, and then we'll figure all the way up over 8 1/8. With half come back, and our last cut's going to be 1 1/4. Then I'll show you the boards. And this cut out seemed to cut out pretty nice. The band's running great. Cool. Get up above 8 1/8. I'll take these all off with the machine. I'll show you these boards. That band cut great. Stayed nice and clean. Inch and a quarter by 10 and a quarter. The only one that's really bad is this one. This one could probably go up against the wall. I think it'd be fine. Let's see if I can show you one that's got that nice red heart center in it. Not a lot of sawdust. Almost none, actually. That band cleared great. There's almost no sawdust on these. That band cleared great. And let's see what our Stella Cut band did. So this is going to have that nice red heart center right here. It's going to poke through on that one too, but it's going to be mostly in these. And what I mean by red heart center, I'll show you in a second. And then we'll come back. We'll look at the edges and make sure it cut straight. It felt perfect. I didn't feel any waves in it, but I'll show you what red heart center looks like on pitch pine. I got a board in here in my shed leaning up against the workbench. So if you see that right there, that's pitch pine center. It's red heart, like kind of like Douglas fir. Just that's a fairly small center, where this one's a pretty big one. So that's what those boards are going to have in them. And let's take a look down the edges. See if we can see any deviation in the cut. Oh, no. No, it's just perfect. It's wonderful. It cut really super flat, super straight. The edges are perfect. Nice, crisp. There's not even a bump in them. Not even a bump. It cut great. So that's kind of our episode for today. I am hopefully he'll be able to use all these. I don't want to have to mill a whole log for one 5/4 board. That was dumb on my part not to take one of those flitches at 5/4. That was stupid. But I think the only spot that's a problem on this thing is this right here. And that could go against the wall. And it'll be fine. So if he puts that against the wall, everything else is gravy in his loft. I don't even know if you can, well, I assume you can walk on the loft because you want a 5/4. Other than that, it's a clean, they're clean boards. So yeah, that's it for today. I'm going to watch some football. I have to put the whole mill away. So I've got to pull the band off, blow it out. I will probably grease it, lock it down, put the cover on it for now. We could have weather tomorrow, so I don't want it out in the weather. There's a possibility that some of the snow coming by on the north side of this big storm, Blair or whatever, could give us a couple inches of snow, so I don't want to end up with that problem. Try to keep, I know that when I'm videoing it, sometimes it's hard to stay on task, but you really got to make sure you don't make a dumb mistake like I just did, not taking, if I had taken one of those flitches at 5/4, I'd be gold right now. I'd have plenty of wood, but I didn't, and it was dumb. I'm going to measure them and just make sure I didn't, but I don't think I did. You got to plan it out. So that everything's usable. I may have a couple of 5/4 boards over here in oak that I could give him. And I don't know what he has left for 5/4 boards out of what I gave him the other day. So this is 5/4. And This bottom one's 5/4 right here, and that's kind of a board. But I have probably enough in. There's another 5/4 one on top of it, so I could give him one board in oak if he needed it. I'll give him that first, and if he wants one more board, then he can tell me what he needs for dimensions, and I could cut him a couple pieces of oak, or hopefully he has enough left over from his main floor to fill in that strip if he wants to cut an inch off that board. I don't know. I think that would be dumb. I would just put that weighing against the wall. That's what I would do. I'd use it as the last board or the first board, put the weighing against the wall and just run the whole thing out because it fits his dimension perfect at 10 1/4 wide. So, yeah, you got to stay on task. You got to think everything through. I know that it seems like sometimes that I'm overthinking it. I'm really not. I'm trying to make it so that that one log does this job. That cuts my time down immensely. Um, and it trains your mind to think through these things, even though I just made a stupid mistake. Um, I won't do it again. I will make sure that next time I don't do that. There wasn't a lot of good wood on the outside of that log to be able to plan for the flitches. You know, the last thing in the world I thought was that I was going to end up with usable flitches out of that log. But all I had to do was take one, just one at 5/4 thick, and this would be gold. Other than that one little wane spot. So hopefully it works out. I'm 99% sure it will work out. He's going to watch this anyway, so he's going to know what to expect, and I'll explain it to him when he comes and picks him up, hopefully tomorrow. But it's been a good start to the year. I've got a ton going on. I've got a ton of milling to do. Money's kind of pouring in. I made over almost $500 this morning with people showing up on Sunday to pick stuff up and buy stuff. I sold a bunch of oak and red oak, and black oak, and white oak this morning to somebody off of Marketplace, and all the walnut got picked up. So that was over $400. I've got a bunch of things in the pipeline. I got to mill a big, huge lowboy trailer decking out of oak. I've got a big, huge spruce coming in to mill up for a customer. I have to go off-site to mill a white pine with chainsaws in the woods. That's going to be a neat video. We got to do that. I've got to mill a bunch of 4x4s out of white oak and black locust. We have to do that. So I'll start to muddle through these as I can weather-wise. We're going to go subarctic for a few days, and I've got things I can do inside. I can sharpen bandsaw bands and things like that around the house to stay out of the cold. And I can work on my sharpening station, get my sharpening station set up in the shed. So I want to work on those things when the weather's bad. And then if I get a decent day like today, it's right around freezing right now, then I'll mill some stuff off and you'll get to see the milling. But I'll continue to shoot videos. I appreciate the watch. Happy New Year, everybody. And for now, for myself, for Danny, who's with mom, for Kate, my wife, for Ben Silva, who's getting these cool ass boards for his loft floor. This is Pirate Solutions out.